I mean, listen, we spoke about this a couple of weeks ago, and you felt there was an air of inevitability that it could be curtains for Nuno Espírito Santo at your old club. When, for you, did it become inevitable?
When he spoke. I sat on here exactly 2 weeks ago as today, and they were going into the game against Crystal Palace on the Sunday, and I thought when I woke up Monday morning it would be done and dusted regardless of results. When Nuno comes out and speaks about the relationship breakdown with Marinakis and Edu, I thought, why? There was no need for him to do that at this moment in time.
Why do you think he did it?
Because he wanted sacking, in my opinion. That could be the only reason. I just think at the start of the season, before the Brentford game, he spoke about this team wasn't where he wanted it to be. He didn't have the players in for pre-season and are well behind where they needed to be. And I just think, and then a week later he comes out and says that, and whether it was maybe some of the signings weren't his signings, maybe he wanted to bring other players in, I can't answer that. But I don't know a manager that would come out and sort of question your ownership and you talk about your relationship. Even if that is the case, you keep it in-house. Let's not kid ourselves. All managers and owners and sporting directors will have disagreement. That will happen. But you don't come out and dirty your dirty washing, as you can say. It was just a surprise for me. I'm just surprised he was there for the West Ham game and then not doing it the Monday. It was after the Monday night after international that it happened. So it give Ange not an awful lot of time to work with these players. That was my surprise that it took as long as it did for Nuno to get sacked.
And we'll come on to talk about Ange Postecoglou very shortly, but just finishing the business on Nuno Espírito Santo. There were 3 words in the short social media post that Forest put out when he was shown the door at the City Ground, and they simply said in those 3 words, following recent circumstances. Now, obviously, you've already talked about him being very open about his frustrations with the transfer policy and also the breakdown in his relationship with Marinakis as well. But how much was the non-relationship that he had with Edu, who came in last season, also a catalyst for what's now turned out to be his departure? Well,
I think it had to be that, you know, because what he'd done at the football club and when he took over from Steve Cooper, I'm not too sure how many Nottingham Forest fans were delighted that Nuno was put in charge. But I tell you what, when he kept him in the Premier League and they were in the Champions League position for a long time last season, and then to lead them back into the European campaign this season, he did an incredible job. And I was in Nottingham on Thursday night doing an event with these Nottingham Forest fans, and they weren't too pleased about Ange Postecoglou being put in charge. And I said, let's reverse the time back to when Nuno was in there. Give him time. Get behind Ange now. Nuno's gone. He did a fantastic job for this football club after, 30-plus years to have European football again. I think he should be applauded. But when you cross Marinakis, there was only going to be one outcome.
So for you, Merce, was this all avoidable or was it inevitable?
I'd like to think avoidable. I think he's done an amazing job. I think sometimes people chop their nose off to spite their face, and I think this is one of them. I think he's done an amazing job. Even if you don't get on well, you keep on going with the man who's done so well. It's been a miracle, really, what's happened at Nottingham Forest, and I think it's dangerous. And you know, the only way I look at it is this owner's gone. You know what? I just want to be entertained, and I think that's what's going to happen. I think we're going to all be loving watching Nottingham Forest play football, but that doesn't mean they're going to win football matches like they did last season. So, for me, I think it's watch this space. I'd be quite worried. I think it's such an extreme. The way they play counter-attacking football on the break, now all of a sudden it's just going to be... I say that. I mean, Ange might change. He might have sat back and thought, you know what, I have got to change a bit. And it'll be gung-ho football. And, yeah, I'd watch this space.
And since December 2023, Clinton, when he arrived at the City Ground, only 6 Premier League teams have picked up more points than Forest, 91. I mean, Tottenham, who had Postecoglou in charge, who's now in charge of them, it's 14 points more than they picked up over the course of that time as well. Why, for you, was he such a successful fit for Forest?
No, that's a good question, but no, the players bought into it, because if you look at the other jobs Nuno's been to, like, he wasn't a success at Tottenham and other clubs he's been to previously. He'd done well at Wolves, but I think in particular here, he brought in players that bought into it. The likes of Hudson-Odoi on one wing, Alanga on the other wing. They didn't have much of the ball, and Forest didn't have much of the ball under him. They were the least team with the possession, but what they did, they were brilliant on the counter-attack. And then you have X-factor players, those two, Gibbs-White. I think Wood had a terrific season. I think the goals that Wood got, everyone was surprised by the goals he got, but he was fantastic. And defensively, they had still at the back. So, yeah, they recruited well, and you've got to give full credit to Nuno. It is a different challenge with Ange now. Mercer's right. It's going to be expansive football. It's all going to be on the front foot. You know, those two defenders, Morello and Milenkovic, have to defend because they'll be left 2-on-2 sometimes at the back because he loves his forwards to get forward. Might be a bit different going to the Emirates first game in charge, but I think the job Nuno's done is fantastic. But the boss is in charge. You don't cross the chairman. Once you cross the chairman, it's like any work you go to. Once you cross the boss, you're going to evidently lose your job. And the things he was saying in the press, to me, looked like he wanted to lose his job.
And those famous scenes, Tim, after the Leicester game late on last season, when that Champions League finish was beginning to slip through their fingers, Marinakis comes on the pitch as well. Was that for you a very public sign that that relationship was beginning to break down?
Yeah, I think he was disappointed about it was the injury, wasn't it, to a player. I'm not sure, though. I think it was mitigating circumstances on that one. I'll give him a break with that. But Dawes is absolutely right. As soon as you turn out and talk against the ownership, you're never going to keep your job, not with a character like Marinakis in charge. And I admire that. I really do. If I was a boss and someone talked against me, I would get rid of him as well. So, you've got to take your medicine, unfortunately. And I think he knew from the moment he spoke that was near the end for him.
Yeah.
I just think it's a very... Ange's gone in there, and I'm pleased he's gone in there. I thought he was harshly treated at Tottenham. I think they've sacked a winner, and Nottingham Forest have employed a winner, and they certainly have. But he's made one mistake already, isn't he, by going in now, 2 days before playing at the Emirates. I think we could have dragged that out. I would have sent it to the lawyers, said, you know what, let's have a look at it over the weekend and maybe we'll sign it on Monday.
Well, that's the thing, Dawes. Why they had that capitulation late on against West Ham. Took us by surprise because of the form that West Ham have been on, and we'll talk about West Ham a little later. But if this was inevitable, why not act then? I know a lot of players on international duty, so you're not going to have a whole squad to work with, but at least get him in, get him working, give him plenty of time to prepare for what is about to get underway in just over 15 minutes' time.
Because they obviously couldn't get it done in that time. It was no coincidence when I woke up Tuesday morning that Nuno had been sacked on Monday night, and then a few hours later, Ange's in the door. You're telling me that they negotiated that in a few hours? No, that had been ongoing. Marinakis will have been talking to maybe numerous people, whether Ange was the only person that he wanted in charge because he wanted to win something. And I've always said on this show, Marinakis, when I worked with him in the Championship, his vision was to get Nottingham Forest back into the Premier League. And I said 2 years ago when they were back in, he won't be happy with them just staying in this Premier League. He wants to bring more success. Did he see it as a negative last year, missing out on the Champions League? I think he did. I think he will have looked at that and gone, we were fourth for so long, we're in the top four, and we only finished seventh.
And he's also pretty clear in terms of European competition that they are not there to make up the numbers. Yeah, he's pushing, he wants to win it.
Yeah, and that's why he's brought Ange in to do that, because when Ange took over at Tottenham Hotspur 2 years ago, I think people forget how well he did in his first season, finishing fifth, just missing out to Aston Villa. Last year was a disaster in the Premier League campaign. Well, let's not forget he brought a trophy to Tottenham for the first time in 17 years. So he's a serial winner. He came under a lot of scrutiny when he came out and said, I win something in my second season. And the amount of people out there were hoping he didn't come up and do it. And he shut an awful lot of people up when they did win it.
But, Tim, if he carries on that trend league-wise, 0.97 points per game that have blighted last season for Tottenham, he keeps up that kind of thing, yeah, you can go on and win the Europa League. It's a big ask. But it could be in a relegation fight if he doesn't improve that league form that we saw from Tottenham last season.
Well, the only reason the league form was like that was because they're in the Europa League, and he targeted that, and he rested players, and he picked his team accordingly. He made his mind up very early on, I think it was around January time, that they wasn't strong enough to compete on all fronts. And he put all his eggs in one basket. That was the Europa League. What basket to put it in? To qualify, they have an open top bus around there. All the fans are euphoric. He sends Tottenham to the Champions League, and then he gets sacked. It's a head-scratcher for me. But I would ask Dawes this. He's close to them Nottingham Forest fans and Mr Marinakis. Would they accept 17th in the league this season and win the Europa League?
Oh, my word.
I tell you...
Do you know what? I think the Nottingham Forest fans would.
Absolutely.
But would Marinakis accept that? Because
yes.
Do you think he would?
Yes.
So if they win the Europa League, I think he's still there. Have to be in the top 10 for me this year. He only sees one way. Marinakis sees up. And he is... Like I said, I think he was disappointed last year he didn't have Champions League football. Mercer, you sat in here for a long time, didn't you, saying, look, and I've said they overachieved last year. They played, every single one of those players played to their max potential. They were batting well above their weight, and you said they would drop off, and I kept believing that they were on a wave. Could they do it? And they finished seventh. That was a huge success for me, in my eyes, for Nottingham Forest.
Oh. Just want to get one final thing on you before we push things a little bit more down the Ange Postecoglou line. Dawes, for you, I mean, listen, no one's ever going to touch the imperious record of Brian Clough at Nottingham Forest. But in terms of managers who've come since him, where do you put Nuno Espírito Santo?
I put Steve Cooper above that. above Nuno, because a lot of managers came in when I was following that football club and played for that football club, and 23 years they were out of the Premier League. He got them back up.
30 years they're out of Europe.
Yes, he kept them in the Premier League 2 seasons, and I think he would have done. Nuno took them into to Europe again. He's certainly up there, Nuno. But I still think, and like I said, I was at an event on Thursday night, those Nottingham Forest fans fell in love with Nuno, and they weren't in love with him before he came through the door. So I think that's a big compliment to him. He did a fantastic job. He will leave a legend, he will, because he got them into European football for the first time in over 30 years.
So Merce, how for you does Postecoglou play it? Because there's an awful lot of discussion about his style. It's been thrilling at times to watch. It's been painful at other times for people to watch, particularly Spurs fans. You think back to that Chelsea game, highly entertaining. But when you look at those final games in Europe last season, it was a very different approach. It was far more pragmatic from Postecoglou. How does he play it with Forest today? How does he play it going forward?
I'd like to think he would change it. You know, I don't think you go to Arsenal and play gung-ho football.
So do you try and get it somewhere in between those two?
Good managers do that. That's what good managers do. Good managers balance it out and pick horses for courses and pick teams for certain games. This is a game where you don't really want to go there and open it up. It is a free swing, long as it don't start getting to 3s and 4s and 5s, and then it becomes a problem. But yeah, I think if he's got the players on the counter-attack to hurt Arsenal, but he's got to make sure they keep it tight. You know, the 2 centre-halves, I like the 2 centre-halves. I thought they were outstanding last year. I ain't sure they're halfway line centre-halves.
Yeah.
I think they're your edge of the box. They'll get their bodies in front. They'll get their head in the way. I don't think they can play on the halfway line. We see that with a lad against Harry Kane the other day. Do you know what I mean? He skipped past him and he got sent off. So, for me, I think that's... But give him time. Give him time. This is a bad game to choose to pick to have as your first game. I'm with Tim. I would have definitely delayed this one. I'd have said my bus pass ain't come or something.
Your bus pass. It sums Ange up. Ange
will go easy. He's got that, you know. He's got that, you know. I don't care. I'll go. Yeah, fair play.
And Clinton, what's it like for the players? Because they've all been on international, well, not all, but a lot have been on international duty. Listen, they may well have expected this. They'd have seen what he said publicly and thinking he may not well be here when we come back. But to come back and find a brand new man in place, a man they know well, they'll have seen plenty of him over the last couple of seasons. For the players, what kind of challenges does that pose?
No, but that happens in football. You have to get on with it. As I said, the comments Nuno made, the players were probably thinking it was only a matter of time. You don't play with the boss. You don't play with the boss at any job that you do. The boss pays your wages. He's the boss. Once you cross the line of your boss, you're evidently going to lose your job unless you come back and apologise. Nuno was never going to apologise. He knew what he was doing. The players have to deal with it and he get on with it. And you got a new manager. They might enjoy it, some of the players. Some of the players might have said, we were working too hard having to defend. I want to go forward and I want to attack more and be expansive.
The attacking players and the midfield players would be like that. Oh, having some.
But the 2 centre-halves would be like...
But oh, my goodness.
I don't know what. Sleepless nights. They wouldn't have been sleeping last night. But I agree with what Tim and Merce said. They ain't going to go gun-ho here at the Emirates against Arsenal because they will get opened up. But you know what? As Dawes said, credit to Ange. He could have easily said, let's leave it. Because when he got that phone call, he was on the school run. He could have said, I'm not answering this. I'll wait till next week and answer it when I'm on the school run next week. But he said, no, I'm going to take it. And, yeah, they've got good players, though, Forest. They've got players. If you look at the squad today,
it's a difficult one for Mikel, isn't it? I mean, he's preparing to play a Nuno side, a counter-attacking side. He don't know what's going to come now. You know, we don't know what's going to come. I'm with Merce. I think he tweaks it. I don't think he changes it straight away. I mean, I think he's more astute than we give him credit for.
And it's so interesting.
I give him credit. I just think he's a very good manager. I think he'll prove to be a good manager, and it's a positive sign for Nottingham.
I love him in the media. I love his answers. That's what I've missed about him.
If you could swap him for Nuno, we would do it, wouldn't we, in the media? I mean, he's far more entertaining.
It's interesting
about what they play like.
Tim, it's interesting now because they lost Ola Reina on international duty for 3 months.
That's a massive blow.
That's huge. You're saying, how is he going to play? I'm looking now. Morato's come into the starting team. I'm thinking, is he going to play right full-back or left full-back and Williams goes over the other side? I've got no idea. Will he go to a back 3? I'm waiting to see when they set up what formation they play.
Dawes, I know you don't often deal in brief answers, but just briefly. Final question.
I love it.
Michael Dawson, thank you.